Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pash On Podcast. Let's get started with your host, Brian Pash.
Hi, this is Brian Pash, and welcome to another exciting podcast interview. On today's show, we're talking about audiences. We're going to be talking about attribution. Maybe we need another A. Activity. No, just awesome data-driven insights from Steve White and the team at Clarivoy. Steve is the CEO and founder. And Steve, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you, Brian. It's great to be here.
Let's set the stage because we have a lot of things to talk about. Your company has had explosive growth over the last few years. You and I were talking, you were a little early to the game when you were talking about identity resolution and tracking the shopper across the different classified marketplaces, across their search journey, across dealer websites. Cookies were still around, starting to crumble. You saw it early. And it's like, hey, man, we got to do something. But for the most part, right, dealers had no idea what you're talking about. Today, the term audiences, identity resolution, a cookie list framework, these are more in the vernacular. How hard was it at the beginning to get dealers to understand that you were really trying to solve for a blind spot that they didn't even know they had?
Yeah, it was quite the education process, and it just took, I feel like it was a journey of like 5 to 6 years to educate dealers about exactly what we do, and it was in part it was like, okay, so 3% of the people that go to your website fill out a lead form. What about the other 97%? What did they do? What about the walk-in attribution that gets reported in your CRM? And so it was those little things that we were able to kind of show dealers. This is what we do. It's showing what we call anonymous attribution, the people that never filled out that lead form, and then being able to show the true source that she gets the credit. And then we were talking about before, I think the aha moments for dealers over the last few years is when we are able to show the actual click trails that led to the actual purchase. And they're like, oh, that's what you do. You provide the consumer purchase journey. And so it was, as we learned how to better tell our story, I think it's begun to resonate a lot more. And I think other outside pressures as well.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because one of the things that dealers don't understand, because they're spending money in lots of different places, which marketing investments are actually influencing shoppers. So, for example, dealers may be on 3 or 4 or 5 different classified sites, and then at times shut them all down and try to figure out what's working. Or they're doing Google, they're doing Facebook, they're doing streaming. And, for the most part, each one of these marketing strategies operates in a silo. The CARM rep comes in and sells you their solution, and the Google agency sells you their solution, and maybe Spectrum comes in and sells you their streaming package. And what you realize is, look, the majority of people don't resolve to a form. And we don't know if existing customers were motivated by an email piece or a social ad or a classified site. Someone has to get to the bottom of it. And what I think is remarkable is that you've built an identity graph, a profile of consumers who are shopping, and you've got the support of the largest classified market sites. You have the support of thousands of dealers. How many consumers now are you profiling in your automotive specific identity graph that will help dealers know the people who purchase a car? What were they looking at? What were they exposed to? How do they engage? How many people are in that audience today?
About 140 million shopper sessions every single month that we're tracking. That generates about 1 billion page views. So yeah, so
Wow.
it's like we've got our tracking code on every major North American marketplace website.
Super. And tell me about Canada, just as a side, because I'm doing some consulting with Canadian groups. And in
Mhm.
the US, we have some really cool permission-based, right, privacy compliant
Yeah.
tools that gives us a lot of insights into tracking the shopper journey. Are the rules in Canada much more restrictive that would prevent the level of attribution you provide here in the US? Would it be different in Canada, or is it effectively the same?
It's definitely a different world up north. And so I mean we've got our tracking code on Trader and Kijiji as well. So we're able to show that purchase journey. So I mean we definitely see just because of different privacy laws a dip in being able to match the offline sale. But still it's far more data than what dealers are used to dealing with by just looking at their CRM.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the probably the biggest elephant in the corner of the room, because this has been going on for a while. Apple devices, Safari, blocking cookies. And so dealers who have always thought, well, I just put my Google pixel on my website or my Meta pixel, and I could retarget everyone who comes. And it really isn't the case. And that's another reason why your identity graph and your pixel on your website gives dealers a significantly higher match of the shoppers
Mhm.
that come to their website on a Safari browser so that they could retarget better. Am I stating that properly, that dealers have a large blind spot that they think they're marketing to, but without a cookieless identity resolution framework, they can't market to them?
100% correct. Yep. They unfortunately they are not able to retarget Safari users. They haven't been able to do that since 2017.
Wow.
Um, so you're only retargeting basically Chrome users, and so like iPhone users and who most don't change their default browser from
Right.
Safari. You're not retargeting those consumers, and we tell dealers it's like your best in market audience are the people that are visiting your website, and yet when they visit your website and they leave and they're on a Safari browser, good luck. So you have to have a solution in place that can kind of that bridges that gap and can resolve those identities in a privacy compliant way. They can resolve those identities and then cookieslessly push those audiences into Meta so that you can retarget there.
Great. So let's just clarify that, because you're not in the business of running the marketing campaigns, but you are dynamically building audiences for the dealer to use based on their own data.
Yep.
So those audiences are built through your identity graph based on the people that are on the dealer's website. The audience in real time is being pushed into Meta so they could do advertising to that audience. Are those audience also able to be pushed into Google as well? Tell me about the audience building and what potential channels that audience could go to.
Yeah, so we're definitely they can be pushed to a variety of different channels. It's a rolling 60-day audience, and so we've been doing tests where we're pushing it to Google, where we're pushing it to the trade desk, and then pretty soon we're going to be able to push it for effective and Spectrum campaigns as well. So yeah, so we're excited about that.
Yeah, so at DMSC, we're going to be talking about audiences and really the year of the audience. I think that there has to be some small victory, knowing that you're ahead of the game. building audiences, de-anonymizing, shopping behaviors, unifying them into a shopper profile, and then using that for attribution now to power better marketing audiences. This is an exciting time. What about like maybe the last black hole? Because, Meta is a click-based media for the most part.
Right.
Google is a click-based media. But when we get to streaming, it's a little hard, right? Because the dealer's pushing out video content. It's a 15 or 30-second streaming ad. It's not clickable for the most part on, smart TV or connected TV. But the people in the homes, the people who are buying cars from the DMS. How are you helping dealers and agencies connect the homes that were exposed to an ad and those that came in to service their car or buy a car? How is that working?
Yeah, so back in 2021, we were asked by a dealer, hey, we're spending a significant amount of money in CTV and programmatic. Can you help us measure that? And I said, I thought about it and I said, yeah, as long as we can get the ad exposure logs. And in some environments, you can't get those ad exposure logs. Trade Desk is one of them. And so when we're able to get the ad exposure logs, what we're able to see is the device IDs. And so our identity graph can match the sale to those different device IDs. So it only requires that the consumer viewed the ad; they don't have to click on it. And so we can match it to the ad exposure level. And then the other exciting thing that we've developed is the ability to attribute at the lead level as well. So if they saw the CTV ad, and then later visited the dealer's website and then filled out a lead form, we can match that back as well and show that purchase journey. I think the
So
other thing.
go ahead, Steve.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, and then I have a question.
I think the other exciting thing that we've seen dealers really lean into is, as the attention has gotten focused on first party data, dealers want to know, how can I better activate my first party data? And so what we've done with some larger groups is we can enrich their first party data with all of these different device IDs. And then they can push those audiences into the trade desk, as an example. And then they can begin to run first party audience campaigns specifically in the trade desk. And then the cool thing that we've seen is, in a lot of cases, what ends up happening is they begin to push their customers in market. And the reason we know that is because we have purchase journeys that show they saw the CTV ad, and then 4 days later, what did that consumer do? Most dealers will say, oh, well, they probably went to my website. No, they went to a marketplace website. But it pushed the consumer in market. And so it's fascinating to look at those different consumer purchase journeys and see that all begin to play out.
So, for our audience, and Steve, you and I keep track of what's going outside of automotive. And then some dealers listening, or maybe general managers might not know what trade desk is. So we should explain that to them. And then the second thing is, when we think of connected TV, televisions that are sitting, they have a device ID, like a game console has a device ID. And so one of the other things that dealers need to understand, part of an identity graph is understanding which devices are in which homes. That's important, right? So, hey, these devices are always in the home, and especially at night. Well, they probably permanently live there. When Brian Pash visited Steve White's house and my device ID pops up for 3 hours, okay, you have to say, no, that's probably a visitor device, right? So how do we know that an ad was exposed to a CTV? Because it has a unique ID. That's those ad logs. So for dealers who weren't sure how the connection is, If you know that the ad was shown on this device and this device sits in a home, then Clarivoy knows that that household was exposed to the
Yep.
ad. If somebody from that household address comes in and buys a car, you could say that ad was exposed to people living in that house, and 3 days later they were on cars.com, and then 7 days later they went to Car Gurus, and then 10 days later they were in your showroom buying a car. This is really cool because you don't have to give away all the privacy or the PII data.
Right.
All you're really doing is helping the dealer understand in their market, in their culture, in their demographics, what are the ways in which consumers are absorbing their marketing, messaging, and offers, and how are they eventually bringing people in. So I just want to make sure everyone understands, because this is an exciting topic, but relatively new, even though Steve's been telling and yelling that dealers need to know about this. Talk about trade desk. When you say that your audience data, your shopper audiences are available for dealers, those device IDs, those other things that could be appended to their CDP, for example, right?
Right.
They could be pushed out through trade desk. Would you explain what that is?
Yeah, so Trade Desk is called a demand side platform, DSP. And so what the Trade Desk enables agencies and dealers to do is to be able to buy CTV inventory at scale. So there's, places like the Trade Desk. There's other places like Simplify, which is another DSP. There's Basis, which is another DSP. And so all of those guys are able to aggregate inventory so that you can buy those pieces of inventory at scale. So for CTV, for video, and both for display as well.
Right. So think of it as a clearinghouse where if you're doing enough volume,
Yep.
and you're technologically savvy, you could use your data at scale to really penetrate your PMA through a multi-channel marketing. If you're large enough to have an internal marketing team, right, they may use Trade Desk.
Right.
Otherwise, right, you're going directly to Google or directly to Meta or directly to Spectrum Reach, right, to do streaming. And in a sense, you have a spoke model. Steve, at DMSC, we're going to be talking about first-party data management. You mentioned data enhancement. That's a huge thing. Data hygiene and how poor our hygiene practices are. And then, of course, new opportunities to activate. You brought up a great opportunity, with your audience booster, that you remove that blind spot that Safari creates. What's one other thing that the dealers who are your customers are telling you that they appreciate the most from your partnership with them in regards to the services you offer?
Yeah, I think it enables them to optimize their media spend. So it identifies areas where they may need to reallocate those dollars, and that's super beneficial. I think when we first started, so many people came to us and said, we don't have a damn clue what's working. And so dealers love the fact that they know that they have a richer view into their reporting and what is truly impacting sales. They're able to hold their vendors accountable on a monthly basis. So they really, like that aspect of it. They like the ability to be able to test. So if a new vendor comes along and they like, hey, I wonder how this vendor would perform with their new product. So they can plug that in and then they can test it, and then just very, in a very data-driven way, say, hey, that was a great product or it's not a great product. So it's very, very
And when we
data-driven.
say not a great product, right, the product wouldn't show up in the clickstream as an influencer of sales, right?
Correct. And I think the other thing that they love is our group reporting. And so
Let's talk about
what
that.
we're able to do is, like, if someone has a particular vendor, running their paid search across all of their different stores, and we're able to show the performance, like on a cost per sale basis. We can show it, on a total gross perspective. But like, let's just say cost per sale. They can see the cost per sale for all the different stores for that particular vendor. And a lot of times what we see happening is you'll have great performance in, like, say 8 of the stores, but 2 of the stores are not performing well. And you're like, well, wait a minute, what's going on in those other 2 stores? So let's not, throw the baby out with the bathwater, because it's
Right.
probably a process or a merchandising problem that they need to address. And so they love the group reporting aspect as well.
I love it. I love it. Steve, Clarivoy, in my mind, should be experiencing a renaissance of sorts because, for the last 18 months, I've been writing about first-party data management. I've had to learn about identity resolution, which you had exposed to me many, many years ago. I had to learn about how data stitching and resolving identity works, and then how do we work with attribution. Obviously, I don't build the tech, but what I'm trying to do is educate dealers on what's possible. And so I think this is going to be a great run for Clarivoy in the coming years, because I could see how your tech could partner with a CDP's identity resolution tech, where both their identity pixel and your identity pixel is on the website, so that, as you mentioned, the insights that you have on the shopping journey can help power better decisions from the CDP. I love that. We'll have to talk about some projects. But at DMSC, we're going to be talking about really dealers securely managing their first party data, partnering with great data enhancement tools, and then how to securely activate those audiences to help them sell more cars or service. Steve, if a dealer is intrigued about your ability to give them real attribution, or to patch the blind spots that are currently in place from the Safari and Apple's decision on blocking cookies, or as you mentioned, tracking activity across a group and helping to determine maybe some abnormalities that can be quickly resolved. I think dealers would want all 3, but let's just say any one of those 3 high-level opportunities, plus the ability to track streaming. I love that. Where's the best website for them to go to? And is there a general email box or a contact you'd like to funnel them through?
Yeah, so obviously just go to clarivoy.com, or just shoot me an email, steve@clarivoy.com.
Well, Steve, that's pretty darn easy. Are you excited about Austin? I mean, this conference could be almost be, the Clarivoy, almost like twin brother on the topics we're going to be talking about. I mean, you got to feel good about walking in there and saying, I know this stuff. I know this stuff. Tell me about your thoughts about going to Austin.
I'm super excited. I mean, you put on a great show, and I love how you are a student of CDPs, and how you stay abreast of everything that's going on. So I love your events, and then you just put on a world-class event in terms of a great venues. So and so you're able to draw in a lot of great speakers. So I'm super excited, and then there's Austin. So Austin's such a fun town. So
it is. There's a lot of good activities.
Excited.
Once we're done with our long days, I am very excited because a number of larger dealer groups that are completely new to our conferences are coming out this year. I think it's because of the awareness, as you mentioned, Steve, on first-party data management, identity resolution, data enhancements, data hygiene, marketing automation platforms, and advanced tools to keep dealers' data safe, but while still working with third-party agencies. It's all at the Digital Marketing Strategies Conference, June 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. If you would like to attend, just go to digitalmarketingstrategies.org. will be staying at the Austin Downtown Marriott Hotel. Beautiful location and really comfortable lodging and cool facility layout. So we're super excited about that. So get your tickets booked. And remember, if you can't make it to DMSC, just go to clarivoy.com or send Steve an email, steve@clarivoy.com. Get a demo, because what we're talking about is really inexpensive tools that have such a value proposition on what they can do in directing those tens of thousands of dollars of media budgets to giving you more access to the best shoppers in your market. Those are the ones who came to your website. And then also just to create collaboration within the organization to see what's working, what's not working, and, well, build a strategy to help you sell more cars in a digital age. Steve, thanks so much for being on the show.
Right.
It's always
Thank you, Brian.
great to learn from you. And for the dealers and automotive industry folks who are watching today or listening in, you should know there are hundreds of interviews with automotive leaders, innovators, pioneers that are trying to elevate the customer experience and help dealers run more profitably. So just search for the Brian Pash Podcast on your favorite podcast channel. This video and podcast interview is part of the Road to DMSC. So listen to the other speakers and sponsors who are investing in dealer education, coming down to Austin to share their vision for the future of automotive in the Road to DMSC series. It's really great collection of conversations and thought leaders. So until next time, I'll see you in Austin or on another podcast interview. Have a great day.